Stranger Things is the sci-fi horror series for Netflix that really has captivated the public, not only here in the US, but worldwide. It's such a fantastic show with so much nostalgia, and he plays with it very, very well. Now that the new season 3, was just released on the 4th of July, it is time for us to review it to see if it's good as the last two seasons, the previous seasons, or is it better. So the next couple of minutes, we are going to find out. They're good. The best part of this series is the returning cast. We have seen him in the past two seasons, and now in this season, we have seen the development of these characters. They have grown. These kids, when they started back in 2016, they were just kids, but now they're growing up. They're pretty much teenagers, and they're dealing with teenage issues, teenage drama. But we love them because of that, because they're growing with us. We see them, we see ourselves reflected. I think it really not only touches the young audience, but also touches the older audience, the older crowd, because this series relies so much on that nostalgia that you remember growing up during that time back in the 80s. And you feel, connected to them because of that. And also with their struggles of their lives, but also not only the young kids, but also the older cast, like Winona Ryder and David Harbour. They're dealing now as parents with their kids and how to let them go and for them to grow. So I think this show is really touches on those aspects, the more emotional aspects of these characters, and that's one of the greatest aspects of this particular season, and I really like it. Another great aspect of this show, of this season, is that it plays homage to many cult classics of the 80s and also from the 90s. You can feel, when you're watching the show, you can feel the references from The Sandlot, Red Dawn, Back to the Future, Terminator, The Neverending Story, even horror classics like The Return of the Living Dead, even a little bit of The Shining. So it does have a lot of these references, visual references. And if you're a movie buff, you're going to find them everywhere, which is kind of cool. And that's the part where this series and the entire show relies on that nostalgia, and it gives you that, which is good. And I really like that part. It's like you see them everywhere. There are many references here from all the stuff that we grew up during that time, from the era, from the clothes, from the toys, from the food, from the way of life back then. So definitely it's something that is mesmerizing. Another thing that I enjoy about the show is that it continues the same format that it started with. It's only 8 episodes, which makes the show really fast-paced. Everything is not cramped together, but the story is told within those 8 episodes, and it's told pretty well. And I really like that because it maintains the rhythm, and it doesn't lose track or sight or doesn't deviate, so I like that. So there are not really many plot holes to name. I feel that it's a concise story that is beginning at the start and is ending where it's supposed to be, so everything works so well. What I like about this season in particular, in comparison to the previous two seasons, is the cinematography and the special effects. Now, of course, it's very likely that they have a higher budget because of the success of the show. So, of course, you can see that reflected in the, how everything is shot, in this case, the locations, but also the CGI is much better. Everything is done better. It's more polished, and it really helps with the experience. This was shot in 4K, so if you are watching this in 4K, it's a great experience, visual experience, but also the audio is Dolby Digital 5.1, so it's a great audio. If you have a great audio system, you are going to enjoy this show very much. The bad. Now it's time to talk about the bad. Well, I would say that what I like about Stranger Things first is that it is a mix of a lot of things, from comedy, from horror, sci-fi, drama, all of that into one. With that, it makes it a great package. But in this particular season, I felt that some of the comedy at times was a little bit forced and didn't land it so well when it needed to. And sometimes there were some very dramatic moments that were a little cut with some of the comedy. The good thing is that because of the way the format of the show it's set and how fast it's going, you barely notice. But if you're really paying attention to the story itself, you're gonna notice those little strings of comedy at times that they are pretty much in the wrong spot. They're coming at the wrong time. So that's a disappointment. Another bad thing, well, it depends on your point of view and your personal expectation. It is that it relies heavily on nostalgia. Now, I have nothing against nostalgia. It's one of the things that I enjoy about this series. But I feel that in this particular season, it relied more than it did on the previous two seasons. Of course, the first season was very new and it had a lot of, it was kind of like a mystery. And the second season were more like it went into the more horror, more like sci-fi dark tones. I feel that this is more lively, more colorful as a show, but it relies more on nostalgia and it's not afraid of doing that. Which it can be good and it can be bad. It can be a crutch in the storytelling, but also can be the greatest, I would say, asset of the show. But it depends on what you hoping, what you're expecting. It might be good for some, but definitely it's going to be bad for others. Another bad thing, and this is not necessarily for everyone, this is mostly for nerds like me that love this type of stories and references. Some of the references are inaccurate, at least from the time frame. You know, some references are done. Some movies are exposed in this show actually happened later than the year or the supposedly the time frame of this film, of this series. So they're not completely accurate. Of course, people that are not really paying too much attention are not going to notice. The average person is not going to notice. A younger generation are not going to notice. But if you are a history buff and if you keep up with the times, you're going to notice that there are some references out of time, which isn't, you know, it's funny. I noticed, my wife didn't notice, but I did, you know, and if you are the type of person that it really keeps up with that kind of stuff, you're going to find them and keep an eye on them. And you're going to, of course, you're going to dislike them. In conclusion, season 3 of Stranger Things is a fantastic season. I really enjoy it. I was really looking forward to this more than anything else. I think more than any movie that is coming out this summer, I was looking forward to the show. And I can tell you one thing, I was not disappointed. Definitely I enjoy it. The door is still open for a 4th season, which I like. Now, there are moments in this series, in this particular season, that are really heartbreaking. And you are going to, if you haven't watched it, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there are going to be some heartbreaking moments. But also, there are some very real moments, you know, in the communication between these young kids and their parents. I feel that there's a lot of things that you can take away from this season that are very enriching and powerful, and they're great messages as well, and it's very enjoyable. It's a great package. They really did a fantastic job putting all this together and making it work, you know, the way it is working. You know, the Duffer Brothers did a fantastic job putting all this together and tying all this nostalgia, teenage angst with you know, with some of the comedy, with some of the drama, the sci-fi horror. All these elements are putting all together and creating a very good and very compact, very concise story that is very alluring and is extremely interesting. So I would say if I have to give this season a final score, I would say it's an 8.5 out of 10. Now, again, it's an 8.5 out of 10. I still believe that season 1 was better. That to me is a 9. This one is better in execution and a lot of things here, but I did like the first one because it was very new and it has more the mystery themes. You're trying to find out who Elle is, who this little girl is, and it really plays like that. The second season was darker. We get more explanations, we get more action on that part, more darkness, a little more darker. But I feel that this one was better than the second one. I would say the other one, that second season was an 8. And this is an 8.5, so it's in between. So I'm looking forward to whatever comes next, the 4th season. And definitely the door is open, and we want to know more about the story of these guys, you know, these kids and their families. So, but what do you think? Have you watched the show? You know, are you waiting to watch the show? What is your opinion? I would like to hear it in the comments below. So once again, thanks for watching. God bless and enjoy your weekend. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.